So hello everyone and welcome to Career Launcher. So in today's class, we are going to discuss a recent summit which was very much in the news, and that was between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. So I'm sure you must be aware. So there was an attempt to actually reach a negotiation deal so as to ensure that Russia-Ukraine war should be stopped. Okay, and for that, both Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, as well as the president of USA, that is Mr. Donald Trump, met. Actually, they met in Alaska, and that is what we are going to discuss. Although officially there was no any official conclusion, but yes, there were some talks that happened, and we hope that in future this talk will continue and it will further finally lead to the stopping of Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, so let us begin with today's class. So I'm sure you must be aware this news was coming in the news. This news was coming in the newspaper in the last 1 or 2 weeks, and that is why I have decided to discuss this. So basically, on 15th August 2025, so the talks happened between Mr. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. That is what you should be knowing about. Now, the first question that comes to that is in our class that we are going to discuss is, in which city of Alaska? So I have just told you that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met in Alaska to reach a negotiation deal so as to ensure that Russia-Ukraine war should be stopped. Okay. So they met on 15th August 2025, and 15th August is special for us also. So please tell me in which city actually in Alaska Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met. And if you know the answer, I'll be very happy to know. You should be answering it in the live chat. So the right answer to this question is B. Anchorage is the right answer to this question. So Anchorage is actually a city in Alaska where they met, and Alaska is a part of USA. Okay. It is one of the provinces of USA. We will discuss in this class. I will show you the maps as well. So let's move on to the next question. And the next question says, what is the name of the US military base in Anchorage, Alaska, where the two leaders met? Your options are Al Udeid Air Base, Elmondorf Richardson Base, NSF Diogo Garcia, Anderson Air Force Base, and Naval Base. What is the right answer to this question? If you know it, please answer me. So the right answer to this question actually is, so option B, right? Al Udeid Air Base is in Qatar, and it was recently in news because Iran had attacked the US Air Base in Al Udeid. I'm sure you must have heard it. A few months back, we had conflict. So Iran had bombed in Qatar. There is a US base called as Al Udeid Base, where actually they had bombed. Actually, before that, actually, America had bombed 3 places of Iran. Nuclear places. So in response to that, Iran attacked US air base in Qatar, Al Udeid Air Base. That is what you should know. The next one is Elmondorf Richardson Base. So this is actually in Alaska, where both the leaders, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, met. Okay. Diego Garcia is also a US military base in Indian Ocean region. And Anderson Air Force Base is in Guam Island, which is in Pacific Ocean, both of course belonging to America. So let me show you the map. Okay. Yes. So yes. So first of all, let me show about Alaska. So here is USA. This is Russia, right? If you can see in the map. This is Alaska. This was once a part of Russia only, but in 1867. Russia had sold it to America. So now this region is called as Alaska, which is being controlled by USA since 1867. And here in Alaska, there's a place called as Anchorage. And in this place, you will find this joint base Elmondorf Richardson, where Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump met, okay, and had talks. That is what you should be knowing about. Okay, and this strait is called as Bering Strait. This is what you should be knowing. Yes, here it is. This is Bering Strait. This is Alaska, and here is Anchorage in Alaska, right? This is Russia, and recently we had seen this. This was in the news. This is the Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. Why I'm telling you this is important, because recently, I mean, 2-3 weeks back, we had seen 8.8 magnitude earthquake here. That is what you should be knowing about. Yes, here it is. JB and Mondorf Richardson. And Diogo Garcia was also one of the options. So here is India. This is Diogo Garcia in Indian Ocean, which is of course controlled by its US military base. That was also one of the options I gave you. And there is one actually, here is US. This is Alaska in Pacific Ocean. Here is Guam Island, which is also a military base of USA. Now we are done about this. Now this was quite interesting. Actually, what happened was, here you can see Mr. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin meeting, and actually it was actually in the Air Force base. So B-2 bomber and fighter jets actually moved. You can see these two leaders are walking on the red carpet, and you can see the B-2 bombers as well as the Raptors, right? They were moving above. Just actually, that is what you can see, right? Yes. Let's move on. So let's discuss about this. So usually we have seen for many years, like we have not seen for many years Putin meeting a US president, right? But of course, since both are adversary means both are on the opposite side, of course, there have been a lot of friction between US and Russia. So since 1945, this is the biggest attack, right? That Russia-Ukraine war is considered as the biggest attack on Europe. And of course, Ukraine is a part of that. Biggest war in Europe since Second World War II or World War II. And that is why it is very important that it should be stopped. Yes, that is what you should know. Behind closed doors or efforts. So there have been an attempt to talks and to have a conclusive talks. But what Putin has said, that we have reached an understanding. That is what Putin has said. Whereas Donald Trump said that there is no deal until there is a deal. It means Donald Trump said that yes, actually Putin wanted to convey the message that yes, we have done some sort of agreement or some deal, some understanding is done. But Donald Trump said that we are yet to complete any deal. So in short, we can say that no conclusive deal has happened. However, we believe that there is some talks happening or there is some positive sign, right? That is what you should be knowing about, right? This is the Air Force base we had discussed. Okay, next time in Moscow, Putin said that now we are going to meet next time in Moscow. It means that there is some positive news that may be in future. We will meet actually in Moscow. It means that today, this time they have met in Alaska. The next time Donald Trump would come to Moscow and have talks regarding Russia-Ukraine war. Okay. Now, Trump says he may have to think about tariffs on Russian oil bias in 2 or 3 weeks. See, what happened was actually, I'm sure you must be aware, that USA has put a lot of tariffs on India. And one of the reasons was, it said that India is buying a lot of oil from Russia, crude oil, which is being manufactured, refined in India and being sold to other places. So USA has said that, look, Russia is involved in Russia-Ukraine war and you are buying an oil. That is why you should stop. And this is the reason why USA is putting a lot of tariffs on Indian products. That is what USA has said. But maybe if things goes on, let's say if the talks become successful, then we hope that in future we will be having a better deal, or we can have the tariffs getting removed very soon. This is what we hope. So let us wait for the time to come, right? That is what you should know. And these were the news that were coming in. Maybe I won't have to do it. Trump on 25% Indian tariff over Russian oil, because if the Russia and America reaches a deal, then of course they will stop putting tariffs on India. That is what we expect. So, okay. Let's move on further. Yes, this is not very important. We are moving it. Yes. Trump says now up to Zelensky to reach a Ukraine deal. So Donald Trump has said that now Volodymyr Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine, should also take initiative to ensure that the deal should be happening. Okay. And Trump said that Putin spoke very sincerely. It means Trump said that yes, Putin was, that is what I'm saying. There is some positive sign of hope because it appears that they are actually interested in talking and reaching the deal. Let us wait. Okay. And Kremlin, you should know it is actually the Russian president house. Okay, that is what you should be knowing. Now, Vladimir Putin also laid flowers to Soviet pilots in Alaska. Now, this is quite interesting. See, what happened was, this is the photo. Vladimir Putin had gone to Alaska, and here a lot of Soviet Union soldiers are buried here. This is the place. Now, you'll be surprised to know what Soviet Union were doing here. So, Soviet Union pilots were doing in America. So, basically, if you are aware of what we call it as World War II, let me just wait. See, when World War II happened, there were two sides, Allies versus Axis, right? So on one side was Adolf Hitler, Hirohito, and Benito Mussolini. And the other side was Joseph Stalin, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, and Chiang Kai-shek. Okay, now if you see it carefully, this is Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin, USSR, and this is USA, Franklin D. Roosevelt, right? Now, if you see it carefully, these two were on one side during World War II. Okay, so basically, this is you can see it here. This is Soviet Union. I mean, at that time, Russia was Soviet Union. So America had said, okay, here is Alaska. Please send us your pilots. We will train them. Okay, so there were a lot of Soviet Union pilots were trained in Alaska between 1942 to 45. And after getting trained, they used to cross the Bering Strait. Here is the Bering Strait. And they used to cross it and reach Siberia. Here is Siberia in Russia. Okay, that is what it is written. But what happened was, because of some reason, especially due to bad weathers, some pilots have died in airplane crashes in Fairbanks and Nome region in Alaska. So this is Nome. You can see this is Nome and this is Fairbank. These are the two places where some of the pilots died due to plane crash. So they had got trained from here, from USA, and they were supposed to go back to their own parent country of USSR. But they met with an accident in Nome and Fairbanks and they died. Later on, their graves were brought, or their body were brought, and they were put in a cemetery in Anchorage, which is in Alaska, USA, where Putin and Trump met. Okay. Cemetery means that same graveyard, you can see. And for many years, it went unrecorded in Russian history. However, and yes, you can see here is Fort Richardson here, actually where they are buried now. However, later on, the Soviet Committee for War Veterans found that yes, in America, our soldiers or our Air Force officials are buried there. And in 2011, a Russian president at that time, Dmitry Medvedev, awarded Virginia Walker, who is the cemetery director, the director of that graveyard, for maintaining the graves, etc. Okay, and that is why you should be knowing about. And this time, Putin visited the same grave in that memory also. Okay, now let's move on to the next topic, which is actually linked with the same. I'm sure you must be aware. White House. White House means US President House. Envoy means ambassador. Claims Russia agreed Article 5 like security guarantee for Ukraine. Article 5 like means Article 5 of Washington Treaty, which actually is the backbone of NATO. NATO's backbone. Okay, that is what you should know. Article 5 like protection as guarantee to bring an end to the war. Okay. Now, what it means, that's called as collective defense, or Article 5 of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So the idea behind this is, okay, you can see these are the maps. So these blue ones are actually the NATO countries. The idea is, if let's say one country attacked one of the member of NATO, it is considered as an attack on all the countries, and all the countries will together attack X. That is the idea of NATO. Okay. And if you see it light blue, this is light blue in color. So Ukraine is not a part of NATO. Ukraine wanted to become a part of NATO, because if Ukraine became a part of NATO, then Russia cannot attack them. Here is Russia in orange. Why? Because if Russia will attack Ukraine, it will be considered as an attack on all the NATO countries, and all the NATO countries will attack them, with their own NATO forces. So there is a separate NATO forces which is contributed by all the NATO countries. That is what you should be knowing about. Okay, if you are interested to know more about NATO, you can watch our video on the Law Entrance channel. Okay, let's move on. You can see it here. Trump rules out Ukraine reclaiming Crimea. So basically what happened was, I'm sure you must be aware. So this is the Crimea of Ukraine that was captured by Russia in 2014. And Ukraine is demanding it back. And Ukraine is also interested in joining NATO. But recently, Donald Trump has categorically said that no, Ukraine cannot join NATO and Ukraine cannot be cannot get Crimea back. That is what was in the news. Okay, no going into NATO by Ukraine, says Trump. Let's move on to the next one. Alaska purchase happened in the year 1857, 1867, 1881, 1904. What is the right answer? We have just discussed it. So the right answer is 1867. B is the right answer. This is actually the book of class 11th NCERT book, history book. And here, displacing indigenous people is one of the chapter, and it mentions it. Alaska ceded by Russia in 1867. That is what you should be knowing. Yes. So this is Russia, and this, of course, Alaska was a part of it till 1867. Then it was sold to America. So now Alaska is controlled by America. The next is why Russia sold Alaska to US. That is what you should be knowing about. Now let's ask some more question. Now we are just talking about Crimea. In 2014, Russia captured which territory from Ukraine, which is considered as the beginning of Russia-Ukraine war in 2014. So basically it's Crimea. Recent war started in February 2022, but there was one more capture that had happened in 2014. So let me show in the map. This is Ukraine, and this is Crimea. So Crimea was captured by Russia. It was a part of Ukraine till 2014, captured by Russia in 2014. Here it is, Crimea. Take it. This is Azov Sea. And here you will find Don River coming from Russia. Okay. Here is Moscow. Okay, yes, that is what you should know. And yes, you should know it that Russia was, before 1991, Russia was called as USSR, and it was Russia plus 15 other countries. These are the countries. Right? And here was Ukraine. So Ukraine was also a part of, before 1991, it was a part of USSR. This was USSR. USSR got broken in 1991. And so Ukraine came out of it. That is why I'm sure you must be aware there was Chernobyl. Was a very famous nuclear power plant where I think in 1980s, I think 84 somewhere, the nuclear reactor got blasted. So at that time, it was a part of Soviet Union, USSR. Now you will find this in Ukraine because now it has become independent. That is what you should be knowing. Yes? No. Now let me show some of the important things related with Ukraine. Here is a river that passes through its capital, Kyiv. This river is called as Dnieper River. This is Azov Sea. This is Black Sea, right? And here you will find a power plant, very famous power plant, Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Okay, that is what you should be knowing. Yes, it is surrounded by Black Sea, Azov Sea. Kyiv is its capital. Yes, and I think that's more than enough. Volodymyr Zelensky is the president. Yes, who is the president of Ukraine? So the answer is Volodymyr O. Zelensky. So the answer is A. And he had earlier served as comedian. Okay, so since the war, he is the president since 2019. And we have seen Russia-Ukraine war beginning since February 2022. That is what you should be knowing about. What is the currency of Ukraine? If you know it, please answer me in the live chat. The right answer to this question is Hryvnia. D is the right answer. Kyiv is the capital. Volodymyr Zelensky is the president. Denis Shmyhal was the prime minister, but recently he has been replaced. The prime minister. Okay. So the president of Ukraine was earlier a comedian. Yes. He had has got a law degree, but he has never practiced law. He worked in comedy. That's what you should be knowing. Now, Russia attacked Ukraine in February 2022 to gain which territory? So Crimea, it had already got in 2014. Yes. So why should it attack again? So for some other territory, and that is Donbass, which comprises of Donetsk and Luhansk. That is what you should be knowing. Okay. So this is actually the territory on the eastern side, Donbass region, which they want to capture, which Russia wanted to capture now. Okay, this region. Yes, this region, you can say Donbass. So it comprises of Luhansk and Donetsk. Donetsk. Yes, we have told you that this is Dnieper River, very important river. Here is Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant on that river. Here you will find Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. Yes, Donbass is the reason for which it has been fought. Who is the outgoing prime minister of Ukraine? We have just discussed the Denis Shmyhal is the outgoing prime minister of Ukraine. And now we are having the new prime minister. His name is Yulia Suverenenko. Okay. July 2025. He became 17 July 2025. He became the prime minister of Ukraine. Okay. That is what you should be knowing. Now, let's talk something about the flag of Ukraine. Just have an idea which of the following is not correct regarding the flag of Ukraine. So, it's actually blue and yellow. So, it does not contain any red color. So, it's having blue and yellow color and rectangular in shape. So, here it is. This is the flag of Ukraine, blue and yellow in rectangular shape. Similarly, there's a question, Mariupol is a city, of course, in Azov Sea. So, that was also once it was in the news. Ukraine, here is Mariupol. Let's move on. Yes, Ukraine. And here is Mariupol. Let's move on. And further, आप देख सकते हो here. This is Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Mariupol, Kherson, Odisha. This is Sevastopol. ये वाला क्रीमिया है. This is Azov Sea. This is Russia. And this is Black Sea. That is what you should know. Yes, this is the region which is now being controlled by Russia. They have captured it. Which of the following is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe? Yes. So the answer is Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Which actually, why it was coming in the news? Because there were some reports of getting attacked. Because if nuclear power plant is attacked, of course, it may leads to leakage of uranium or other radioactive substance, which can be very harmful. So C is the right answer to this question. Yes. And there's one more, Chernobyl. I'm sure you must be aware. So here is Chernobyl in the north and Zaporizhzhia somewhere in the south. Okay, Chernobyl. Yes, in 1986. I had mistakenly said 1984. So Chernobyl disaster had happened in 1986. And 5 years later in 1991, USSR got collapsed. Who is the current prime minister of Russia? So president, everyone knows, is Vladimir Putin. But who is the prime minister of Russia? So the answer is Mikhail Mishustin. So B is the right answer to this question. So that's what you should be knowing. And president, everyone knows, is Vladimir Putin. Which of the following color is not there in Russian flag? So I'm sure you must be aware. So there is no green. And so white, blue, and red is there. So B is the right answer. White, blue, and red. This is the Russia's flag. Okay. So green is not there. That is what you should be knowing. So this is Russia. Here is its capital, Moscow. And Kremlin is the house where the Russian president sits. It's an official residence of Russian president. What is the currency of Russia? And I'm sure you must be aware, ruble. We had done a rupee-ruble agreement also, India and Russia. So A is the right answer to this question. Okay. So this is all about today's class. Please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, share this video. Thank you everyone. Thanks for watching.